Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the evening, but towards the end you say to say a few words. My question is, why a few words? If you want me to give a keynote address, I would have given you a full keynote address. I have a speech ready, but I'm not going to use that text. I'm going to speak from the heart, okay? And I'm going to say some things to you. Some of you may be surprised. Those of you who know me will say, well, this is what he is normally like. First and foremost, I've had a very long association with the Hindu group. And I don't mean the one I'm coming from, but this guy's here. Out of their 147-year history, I have been in active touch with them for at least 47 of those years. I was just thinking back. There was a time when I was a young undersecretary, Lakshmi and I joined the Foreign Service in '74. I remember when we came back after our first posting in Tokyo in 1978, there was a gentleman called Mr. G.K. Reddy, who was the Hindus correspondent in Delhi. He was an institution. And we used to all want to be friendly with him because this was, remember the time of, Mrs. Gandhi and Mr. Vajpayee and all those people, and then Narasimha Rao was a foreign minister at that time. Because I came to the conclusion early in life that if you wanted to know really what was happening in the government, get hold of somebody who can invite G.K. Reddy for a drink in the evening. He'll tell you the next foreign posting ambassador, kaun kahin ja raha, he would tell you. And when he used to publish the list, it had more credibility than the Government of India's notification. So I belong to that era. Suddenly somebody sent me a message just now. I'll tell you that I have a lot of friends who are into this. Somebody sent me a message saying that, the event which you are attending just now, he said, my friend K. Venugopal, Chairman, Kasturi and Sons is attending your event. Please say hello to him when you leave. I said, what the hell? I didn't need any encouragement from this batchmate of mine who was an IAS officer, and who was a great friend of mine. I would say hello to him in any case. But anyway, that's how I look back and reflect. Look, 2 or 3 things I want to tell you. I think these awards are truly remarkable. And they're remarkable for a variety of reasons. One is that these honor change makers. But a lot of people honor a lot of change makers where a certain element of subjective assessment comes in. I think you are a great guy. The other person might think so-and-so is a great guy. We can have a difference of opinion. Here, one of the defining characteristics of what makes these awards special is that you receive nominations from your readers. And I'm told by the editor sitting on my right that you had 1,900 nominations this year for 6 categories of awards. Now, that's in and of itself, if you are a student of, continuity and change, and I am, and I'm going to tell you something about continuity and change in a minute, share my 2 bits on it. You can't go wrong. Because if the nominations are coming from the readers and the readers are observing those changes over a period of time, then whether it is preservation and giving onions, which are a very volatile political agricultural crop. I mean, you know that. But somebody who comes in there, who may have studied computer science somewhere else, but studies the experience on the ground, is able to come up with a solution, develop the solution, and then commercially market the solution. I mean, I think it's absolutely on the spot and brilliant. We came to, what was this called? Vidya Loka. And I think what the gentleman said here, I think Anil, absolutely spot on. He said, if you want to be a Viksit Bharat, or rather the other way around, you'll never become a Viksit Bharat unless you go education. One of my favorite lines, I was Housing and Urban Affairs Minister for 7 years. And a favorite line used to be when interacting with my audiences, and they were all types of people, all right? I used to say, if you want to look at a good urban property, investment, decision, whatever else you may do, location, location, location. And I used to add, if you want development in your country, and I've said this many times, so there's no originality in what I'm going to say, education, education, education. So the second remarkable feature I found about these awards is that many of these awards were education and children related. And I'm telling you, whether it's the young lady from the Northeast who is dealing with migration and safe migration, unsafe migration, ultimately it affects human lives. And then one of the other award winners, you're taking those kids at this duo which came here, and you're giving them education, and that is what will ultimately determine the success rate. Why? Let me tell you. Today, our mean age should be what, Rasal? 29 years of age. We've got a demographic advantage. We've gone from a $2 trillion economy to a $4.3 trillion economy. The way we've unleashed the forces today, if you're looking at numbers, I can rattle off, you know, whether it's Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, whether it's the number of airports, whether it is the amount of metro line kilometerage, all that figures are there. The fact that you are growing in the last quarter at 7.8%, it's a different thing. Another young guy described it as a dead economy, but I'll let that one pass. 7.8% in that quarter, 7.4% in the previous quarter. And S&P, I was doing an event with them yesterday, I think. Was it today or yesterday? I forget, I do so many events. And those guys upgraded that after 18 years. So there's something remarkable happening in the economy in terms of unleashing the forces of enterprise, change, innovators. But where does the change come from? That is what these awards are all about. Now, I know I've now, from being a civil servant, I've ended up being more give a guy a mic, a politician, he'll go on. But I have a few interesting things to share with you. One, as a student of continuity and change, and that's what life is all about, many of us live through the changes that are taking place. We live through the continuity that is there, and we're not able to discern what is the continuum and where is the change coming from. So when you honor change makers, you're actually getting into that process and saying, hey, this is it. I liked what that young IAS officer said. I asked her which batch she is from, and that also reminded me how old I am. She said she's 2018 batch. And by 2018 batch, I'd already served the Foreign Service for 39 years. I'd already done 4 years of international think tanking. And by 2018, I'd also become a councillor minister. So you want to see what batch I am and how much is the age difference. But she said something intelligent. She said, I honor all those who went before me. She said, I honor my predecessors and all of those who discovered Araku coffee. You know, I have been posted in countries where coffee drinking is a fine art. If you go to Brazil and to Colombia, they drink coffee with a heavy sediment. Little guys like me can't take it. I drink good, little 1 teaspoon and lots of hot water. But today, do you know the kind of price that coffee demands? Do you know the kind of exotic value that is? Somebody has pointed it out. And today, for somebody to... She also said nice things about people in power. She'll go very far in life. That I want to compliment her also on. No, but that's a joke. I mean, the people she was praising are also friends of mine, so it's okay. Now, I want to come to, I could go on about each award category. My guys had written to me big notes about last year's award categories, thinking that, we are honoring last year's. They should realize that every year you have new awardees. So anyway, now I'm coming to the iconic, I'm coming to the award of the year, DRDO, etc. Changemaker of the year. I am thrilled. I was a young civil servant in the Foreign Service. I had a bit of a tiff because, as usual, I'm used to speaking a little more than I should. I threw my weight around. And I used to serve a foreign secretary who had very broad shoulders. In came a guy who was insecure and felt uncertain with me around. So he said, you have run policy in MEA, now time to go to Ministry of Defense. So I said, I didn't know what hit me, but I said nasty things to him in a civilized way, but I won't go into those. But I went to the Ministry of Defense and I had the privilege of working with, I should be respectful, President Kalam. He was then scientific advisor to the Raksha Mantri. That was his title. And I got working very closely with him. Along came a minister who says that his degree was MA English from Ottawa. Now don't guess who the name of the minister. He didn't speak a word of English. And so there is a minister who is an MA English from Ottawa, and there is a scientific advisor to the RM who is Dr. Kalam, who didn't speak a word of Hindi. So we used to have a weekly meeting where all the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Air Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, DRDO, and a young greenhorn joint secretary like me, paraded there by the defense secretary, who was a Haryana cadre officer, but was more of an Englishman than any I have seen. And I've served in England. And he said, you will do the translation. So I said, God help me. God help me. How can I do the translation? I don't understand half of the language of the minister. And if the DRDO chief, Mr. Kalam, starts speaking Hindi, I won't understand it either. So this Haryana cadre officer, a boss of mine, a brilliant guy, Tapas Banerjee, he said, "Main to hoon na," film ka, "Main to hoon na." So I sat there and I started translating. It was on the one hand a nightmare, because anything I said would pass, because one guy didn't understand what the other guy was saying, and the rest would depend on the minutes I was recording, And then my first pot shot came when the then Chief of Air Staff says, his staff officer called me, he also later became Chief of Air Staff. He said, "Be careful, my chief didn't say this, he said this." I go, "Send me what he said." Now, I didn't have smartphones then, and the other guy sent me. So what was happening, these chiefs of services were telling their factotums or their advisor, "Maine to ye bol diya, maine to wo bol diya," where in the meeting they were not saying any of it. So I told my boss, this is happening. He said, "Let's have some fun." Okay. पहली बारी तो I didn't correct myself, अगली बारी देख. Next time when they send it, मैंने कहा मेरे पास recording है, बता दूंगा कि तुमने क्या बोला, what you said inside and what you are claiming. So we had a very good time. The minister fell in love with me. He used to tell वो foreign वाले सरदार जी को बुलाओ. Now I had a very difficult time because the minister's Hindi also was very difficult to understand. He was a very famous leader. So he went to a press conference. So somebody said, "Seema pe kya sthiti hai? Do you understand Hindi? What is the situation on the border?" So he would close his mouth and "Seema mein tanav hai," which means there's a lot of tension on that. So I got rattled. So if I had to translate that for Kalam, but now I come to say, Kalam was a great guy. And what he did for the DRDO, I'm sorry I choose my words very well. He was a pioneering scientist. There are a lot of people who are scientists. I'd finished my tenure in the Defense Ministry. I came back to External Affairs Ministry, and I rewind back May 1998. I got a call from a man who was then the Foreign Secretary in the morning. It was a Saturday morning, if I remember. "What are you doing today?" So I said, "Foreign Secretary asking me, Joint Secretary not used to calls like this." I said, "I'm doing everything that I do on a Saturday. I will come to the office. We'll stay there till 1 o'clock. He knew what used to happen after 1 o'clock. We used to go for an extended lunch because Saturday is a holiday, not a working day. We used to go to the India International Center and continue our, official deliberations over, what. Okay. So he said, "No, today you don't go to where you go at 1 o'clock. You stay in the office." I said, "My God, this is strange. Why is calling you at 9 o'clock when you're leaving for the office?" Then said, "Stay in the office till 1:30. And he said, "That collaborator of yours, Rakesh Sood, who was Joint Secretary Disarmament, keep him with you." Because he used to go with me there. He said, "Keep him with you." All right, around 11 o'clock, a friend of mine who was a journalist also dropped in. His father happened to be then, I think he was the Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission. He said, "Father has been missing since morning." I said, "Then what happened?" "Fathers go to office in the morning. What is the problem on a Saturday?" Then he said, he was in the territorial army, Then he said, "I went to the defense room. Everybody's in the war room. Nobody knows why they are in the war room." I said, "Must be something happening." We were also gossiping and saying maybe some word will come. Then somebody turned around and called me and he said, "Where is Lakshmi?" That's my Lakshmi. And I said, "She is gone for a G15 meeting in Cairo." So then that guy turned around and said, all right, you got her number? I said, there were no cell phones. I said, I know how to contact her through the ambassador and so on. Acha, wo theek hai, tiyar rakhna. One of them, by that time, six or seven guys had collected in my room. One of the guys turns around and says, koi lagta G15 mein kuch gadbad ho gaya. Now, anybody who has any understanding of international relations should know that G15 is not an organization important enough for any gadbad to take place there. All right, so maine kaha, kahan gadbad ho gaya G15 mein? So then we said something is happening. Then somebody's bulb went up. I think we have exploded a nuclear device. I don't know how it happened, but suddenly in going around. So from G15 mein gadbad ho gaya to, and the whole country took up. God, why is that important? Why am I talking about this? Because I remember Dr. Kalam. Because let me tell you, before that, India was subject to all manner of technology denial regimes. There was a system of international apartheid. But that one act, we had done what is called a PNE earlier also. But the fact of the matter is the international regime was developed. Anybody who did it earlier, didn't matter. Whenever did it later, what happened? So some people became part of the nuclear, select club, and the rest of us got left out. We not only challenged, that is the first instance in Mr. Vajpayee's time when he challenged an international regime on our terms, and the international community came around to our point of view. We signed an India-specific safeguards agreement with the IAEA. We signed a civilian nuclear deal with the United States. The then government, later on, when we signed the deal, no commercial contracting took place for a variety of reasons. But today they're again back talking about small modular reactors, etc. So but today we are paying tribute to a man called Dr. Kalam. He became president later. I've had a very close working relationship with him. When I came to the defense ministry, I used to be a little surprised. He used to call some of us young joint secretaries, put a world map. Then he would say, one missile, one missile. He had the whole world map on where there are missiles. Later, after the second meeting, I understood what he was saying. Hey, you are within range here. This can happen here. Intercontinental ballistic missile can do this. This was the visionary. So if you honor the DRDO, you are also honoring a man like that. I think all the 6 categories you've honored are all very well deserving. My heartiest congratulations. But more than that, when you study continuity and change, it's something philosophical. Who makes history? I mean, if you take the views of David Hume on the right and Karl Marx on the left, one will have you say that the individual makes history. No, individuals make history. But the other guys will tell you, not in circumstances of their choosing. Ground reality is what determines it. So when you honor change makers, you're also acknowledging the complexity of the process of life and change. So heartiest congratulations. This has gone on a little longer than I had anticipated. So you messed up a bit. No, but thank you very much. Thank you for calling me here, and more strength to your elbow. But I think you should also honor not only the 6, actually a little more because 2 awards in 1, but even all those people who came in the consideration zone, because I know how difficult it is for any jury. I know these jury are very, very with broad shoulders, but the difference between X and Y can be very nuanced. Honor them, and frankly, if you honor the process of all 1900 nominations received, that itself deserves to go into a compendium. So heartiest congratulations, and thank you for bearing with me. God bless you all.